You know, I've always had questions about what it's like to be on reality TV shows because, well, they say it's reality, but it's probably all fake. It's probably all scripted. And so we have a lot to talk about, especially with, Matt Walsh's new film, Am I Racist, coming out, plus his previous film, What is a Woman? There's a great opportunity here to get to the heart of what it's like in Hollywood and these shows. So we've got a couple of great guests to talk to us about all of this today. We're being joined by the star of The Bachelorette, Josh Sider. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Josh Sider. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Tim.
And how long ago was it that you discovered you were a woman?
It's something that I struggled with all of my life, my gender identity. I remember being 6, 7 years old and putting on my mom's dresses, clip-on earrings, stuff like that. But I was homeschooled my whole life. So I had very strict parents, draconian rules about things. So I really wasn't able to express myself. So in college, when I had a little more independence and freedom, there's a little more self-exploration going on. And then it was in May of this year that I decided that I could just be myself and really lean into it and express myself. And so, now, not many things have changed. I just outwardly dress a little different than I used to. But a lot of people seem to, have opinions about it. And so it's kind of set the world on fire. But I'm just being me, which is a trans woman.
You're right. And we're being joined by someone who's very proud of you.
Yes,
who has
I am
expressed great
proud.
support, Alex Stein.
And I don't have my tuck-friendly bathing suit, but I wanted to come here in solidarity. But, Josh, I've seen so much of your content, and, I just want to start off. Let's just start off hot. I love what you're doing. I don't think that this is real. I personally think that, you're trolling. And that's fine, whether, we can argue about it. But what I'm saying is what you're doing, I think, is important because it lampoons these people that just say that they can switch their gender. And when I see people in the comment section get mad at you, it shows them how hypocritical they are. It's like there was these OnlyFans actresses that, or whatever you want to call them, they were biological females, but they pretended to be trans. And they got hated on, and it just shows the hypocrisy of the whole trans movement. So I love what you're doing, Josh. I think it's very important.
Well, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm just me. And, personal identity is exactly that. It's personal, and it's something that we define ourselves. We have agency and autonomy. So I can't really speak for anyone else, but for me, it's just my personal identity. And I'm just following the science. And
what's the science? What's the science?
And the science just makes it clear that we define our gender identity. And so I'm a big believer in following the science. And so I just would encourage others to do that.
So, I made a video about your videos, and I refer to you as the greatest actor of our generation, maintaining this bit. And I'm gonna just jump in it with Alex. What for those that are, there's a bunch of people in the chat. They have no idea what's going on. They're like, "What is it?" You have done this what is presumed by so many people to be a bit, but you've done it so well that people are questioning whether you're doing a bit. And if you look at the comments on your Instagram, when you make these videos where you say like the man should pay, and so he goes, well, then you should pay. And you're like, oh, how dare you?
Yeah.
It's split between, I see these comments from leftists and they're saying things like, I don't know if you're trying to joke or not, but please be careful when you're presenting an image about trans women. Like these activists can't tell whether or not you are serious or ribbing on them. And it's much like, are you familiar with Angela Belcamino?
I am not.
Give a shout out to Angela.
Yeah, Angela's cool.
So she's the bold lib, she calls herself on X. And she makes these videos, and they're all the same. It's her walking past the camera, strutting, and it says, like, conservatives can't stand a bold lib or whatever.
And I'm 42 and single and childless, and they can't stand me. It's funny stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So,
but it's a bit, apparently.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what you're doing. It's kind of, it's blending reality and fiction. And I think that's why people like it, because the best content is content that triggers people, right? Like when I started to go viral, I did this stupid thing where I went and I talked about the vaccine. I said, Dr. Fauci, give me that ouchie. And the reason why I did well is because people on the right were like, man, this guy sucks. But people on the left are like, this guy's kind of cool, you know, and they were also kind of embarrassed by it. So I guess my point is when you trigger both sides, that is the content that I think goes the most viral. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's not intentional. I'm just being me, but I have noticed that both conservatives and the far left seem to have opinions on what I do, and you know, some of them like me and some of them dislike me, but it's very interesting to see how many people are outing themselves as bigots, especially on the left, and are trying to police my body and my voice and things like that. And so I'm just being me, but during this process of my transition, people are outing themselves for the narrow-minded, myopic people that they are, and it is what it is. I'm just being me.
Well, the chat said this. It's a good question. What is a woman?
Well, again, I would defer to the science. So if you follow the science now, the NIH, WHO, WPATH, it all says that someone can be a biological male. But their gender and their gender identity is determined by them and them only. And so if we just follow the science, a woman is whoever wants to be a woman. And I know Matt Walsh has spoken on this and, you know, done the movie or whatever, but if you follow the science, that's what they say. And we choose our gender. But there is biology, and biologically I was born a male. I was assigned male at birth by a doctor, but I identify as a woman, so.
What do you think about biological, or I guess, trans people competing against biological women? What do you think about that in sports?
Yeah, that's a very nuanced, I think everyone can agree, very nuanced issue, because there are hormonal differences, bone structure differences, muscular differences. There's nature versus nurture arguments going on there. So it's such a nuanced issue, and it's tough because I don't think anyone thinks that trans women like me or anybody should not be able to compete in sports, but I think a great argument that's been put forth is, should they have their own league? You know, should we have our own league? Is that
intergender league, their own, you know?
Well, it'd be trans women competing against trans women, trans men competing against trans men, and then cisgendered women, what are thought of as traditional women, competing with traditional women, and cisgendered men competing with cis. So I think having our own league is definitely a viable option. I don't know if it's the right one, but having trans women like me competing with cisgendered biological women, that's a very tough question, and I can't say I know the answer to it.
Do you get clothes specially tailored for you?
Well, I have a large chest.
Not that large.
But it's pretty large just through genetics and working out a lot. So I don't get clothes tailored, but not because I shouldn't. It's because I can be cheap. And so I tend to not get clothes tailored, but lots of things don't fit me how I would like them to. Today I found, some stuff that fits pretty well. But
you look like a guy.
Yeah, you're dressed like a dude. Yes. What are you talking about? You're in a sport coat and a nice shirt. Your chest hairs.
But women wear suit blazers.
I guess Hillary Clinton does wear pantsuits technically.
Yeah. So I could be an androgynous look, I think. What I was going
for
was...
You have a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
What was that?
You have a 5 o'clock shadow.
Why don't you get breast implants? Honestly, why don't you? And
I already don't like how large my chest is. So I already made a video about why I wouldn't get a chest.
You did? I think I may have seen that, but
I'm not getting top surgery.
Tell us how is the trans people treat you at the DNC? You made that video, went pretty viral.
You went to the DNC?
Well, so I live 4 miles in Chicago from where the DNC was held, and so there are actually protests outside of local precincts everywhere throughout Chicago, and just a few blocks from where I live, there was a protest. And I told Alex earlier in the car ride over here that a couple other, I'm not sure, I don't want to assume their gender. They were outwardly presenting like two possibly trans women or maybe non-binary, very aggressively came up to me and wanted to know what my sign said and why was I here. And I was very thrown off because I thought it was an inclusive protest.
What was your sign?
It's Trans for Palestine. And I thought it was an inclusive protest and they would be open to all of us just coming there together in the spirit of love. But they were very aggressive with me. And so I actually had to tell them to go away and kick rocks so that.
So actually, this is actually interesting, right? Obviously, the whole chat is everybody saying troll level 9,000, 10 out of 10, blah, blah, blah. But you've never actually been outwardly antagonistic to any of these people. You've never said that this is a joke. You've maintained that it's true. And it is actually the left, these individuals who are more likely to give you, to present animosity or anger.
Just going by my experience on social media, there's tens of thousands of comments under my posts, and millions of views. Just going by that and the messages I get, which are thousands of messages, it definitely appears as if most of the vitriol and animosity is coming from the left and people that are part of the LGBTQIA plus community. So it's interesting. It's not conservatives usually, but sometimes it is.
Honest question, and this is for both of you, obviously, but I think people can make assumptions as to why that is. But honest, like, why do you think that is? Right? Look, let me preface this. There was a viral post years ago of a biological male with a full beard. And he put on like a pink dress and he said, "I'm a woman. You don't have to look like," and it was this big deal. The left was cheering it on. The LGBTQ community was cheering it on. And this male was saying that only women define womanhood. And so that's why it's this fascinating hypocrisy that the posts you've made on Instagram, right? For example, one of them is you saying the guy should pay for the first date. And so you slid the bill to him and he said, "Well, then you should pay." And you went, "That was just so rude." That is completely consistent with the left's view and ideology on all of this. And yet they're the ones getting mad about it. Why is it the left?
I was surprised because I thought the left was all about inclusivity and tolerance and you are valid and it doesn't matter what you look like and don't judge people on appearance, judge them on character. And I have found none of that during this process.
So did you say it's more hate though from the left?
Going off my social media and messages I receive, I'd say it's about 70 to 80% from the left, and then people that are saying they're conservative or Republicans, maybe 25%.
No sense of humor.
I've gotten a lot of messages of support from women who say they're Trump supporters and they love me and accept me and they have no problem with me. I've gotten almost few of those messages from anyone saying they're on the left or that they're Biden supporters. I haven't gotten a single message from a Biden supporter saying, "I'm a Biden supporter and I support you." It's only people that are on the right or support Trump, so it's very interesting.
Who are you voting for, Trump or Kamala?
Well, I was going to vote for Kamala. I hope I'm not mispronouncing her name. Kamala?
Yeah,
Kamala.
Okay, yeah, her niece explained it, so that's helpful.
They get really offended.
They get pissed about that. They yelled at me the other day at this gas station. I was trying to interview
said
people.
Kamala?
Yeah.
So I was going to vote for Kamala and Kamala. I'm sorry. I don't want to mispronounce her name. But she is just, I've heard no discussion about the open border. I tend to have views that, are between left and right on various issues. I think the border's an issue, a serious issue, and the economy. And I've heard absolutely nothing of substance from Kamala on that. And so I'm not a fan of Trump at all.
Well, he lets Caitlyn Jenner pee in his hotel.
Trump does?
Yeah, in the women's restroom.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's in the women. He lets her.
Caitlyn Jenner peed in the women's restroom and made a video at I forget which hotel at one of the Trump Towers. So he's very inclusive.
Yeah, that's very. I mean, that's great that he's progressive.
So you should vote for Trump.
Yeah, Trump's progressive.
But Trump to me tends to be a demagogue in an ideologue, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm a libertarian. And so neither of the candidates, because I'm a libertarian, come from a libertarian ethic and education. Neither of them is appealing to me. So I'd really like to find somebody that embodies truly the libertarian ethic of let everybody live how they want to live. We're not going to tell you what to do with your body or, with your life decisions. And I feel like both candidates are constantly trying to tell us how we should be living and what we should do. The left and the Democrats are constantly trying to tell us how we should be talking and what we need to believe. And the right, when it comes to things like abortion and women's health care, are trying to tell us how we should live our lives. So neither of them is appealing to me because I don't think they're true libertarians.
But what is your stance on abortion?
On abortion, I feel like obviously laws are put in in place and codified by the states now that it's gone back to the states. And I think that is founders' intent. And I think that is a good thing. But lots of states are voting on it democratically and making decisions that the rest of the country does not agree with. But that is democracy, and that's how it works when it goes back to the states. So I can't have an opinion on it other than using my vote as a voice in my state were the issue to come up, and I would vote for women to have the right to get an abortion. And I don't think we should impinge on that or curtail it too much. But I also don't think we should be having late-term abortions or abortions in the very late terms. I don't think that's good either. I think we need a reasoned, rational approach.
But the issue is when it comes to the Democrats' presentation is they just lie about it. So on the debate stage, for instance, Trump says, you had Virginia. He incorrectly said West Virginia, mind you. That was offensive to us in West Virginia. I am not a native-born West Virginian, but I speak on behalf of West Virginians. Don't blame the people who live here for what Virginia did. Mm-hmm. Governor Northam in Virginia said the baby would be born, brought into the other room, and then the discussion would happen. And that woman, what's her name, Davis or something, immediately goes, there is no state that allows, the killing of babies or whatever. Yeah. Did you say the killing of babies?
I forget what her exact terms were, but that clip obviously went viral. Said we're going to keep the baby comfortable, and then they make the decisions.
Right. So. And so the issue is, you look at Colorado has 0 restrictions on abortion to the point of birth. You can abort. And then you have Oklahoma, which has no abortion allowed at all. The Republicans will tell you outright. There is a debate internally among the right about pro-life federal abortion ban and states abortion ban and how many weeks it might be. The left will just lie the whole time and say, that's not happening and it can't happen. Shut up, you're wrong. And then you can see it literally happen. There's a viral video going now where a woman calls a clinic and she says that she's 34 weeks, but her boyfriend left her and she needs to get rid of the baby. And they're like, no problem. Here's how we'll do it. And then she's like, and this is not like a rare thing. You do this all the time. Like, yep, all the time. And then they say it's never happening.
In that debate, we always talk about abortion, but I wish Trump would kind of use the playbook that Kamala was saying, how she's like, oh, I have a gun, and she's trying to kind of defending gun rights when she's on the record saying that she would have an assault weapons ban. I wish Trump would go and lean in to say, I gave you guys $1,200, and when I get into the White House again, I'm going to help you guys out again financially. So I kind of wish he would take their playbook, not lie, but I guess try to sell himself a little better. Do you think he sold himself enough to the people that are on the fence?
Well, we've talked a lot about the debate the past week. I think that it was Kamala needed the opportunity to explain why she's different and what she offered, and she didn't do it. Yeah. So I think there's a certain amount of it that's fair to say that Kamala was better prepared and kept her cool and goaded Trump. But it doesn't matter because I feel like Trump could have got up on stage and done the chicken dance for an hour and a half. And people still would have been like, well, to be honest, Kamala did not explain what she's doing.
She didn't, but she wasn't asked the questions to expound on in order to explain it because the moderators weren't asking her any questions of substance about the economy, about the border, what she was going to do with
They didn't bring up the assassination attempt one time.
How could she articulate anything when none of the questions would allow her? And they were just, softball questions to her. And I feel like this is another reason I won't vote for her is because I have no clue where she stands on anything. I know where Trump stands. I'm not voting for either of them, but at least I know where Trump stands. But I have no clue where Kamala stands. And I just saw her nodding her head in agreement to a guy that said he thought that black people should have different laws than white people, and she was nodding her head and saying,
Wait,
yes.
What, really?
Yes.
You see that?
Yeah, did you see it? There was a round table, and he was like, we're going to go back to 300 years, and we deserve, he was kind of calling for segregation.
It was a black guy saying?
Yeah, and she was nodding her head in heavy agreement to everything he said. I feel like she will say and do anything to get elected. And so I just don't know where she stands. She's kind of an enigma to me.
Yeah, it was like a round table of black business owners or something.
The conversation took place, it looked like on a couch in a hotel lobby. Here it is. This is it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And we're talking about specifically something that happens to black people here in America. So we have to be specifically targeting to help those people. Because we put those people in a position, and everybody knows the history. Yeah. Everybody understands the history of America.
That's right.
America, you did this to these people. You should write laws for these people.
Separately.
Don't group us in with everybody, because everybody it didn't happen to everybody. But let's be fair. We playing from behind the eight ball. We way back there, 400 years back there. We're not asking y'all to give us nothing. We actually write the law. Those of us who are willing and able to do the work, will do the work.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Wow, I can't believe that.
I
That's
just
from a week ago.
I just feel like she'll say anything, and I just don't trust anything she says. So that's why I won't vote for her. But I'm also not voting for Trump.
So you're like were a reality TV star. You were on The Bachelorette.
Yeah, I was on The Bachelorette, and I was on another show prior to that the year before called Escape Club on the E! Network, which was an island show of singles living on an island, and that was on the E! Network.
Did you get busy with a lot of chicks on the island?
I had a girlfriend on the show, yeah. Her name was Whitney.
How did that work? Like when you guys, they had cameras in the room?
They did at all times. They had one in the corner even when we were sleeping that was on 24/7. And so on the show, we didn't do anything physically because it was...
The whole time? I know, because you don't want them to have...
Yeah, right.
Wow.
How could you? I can't imagine that. How do you sleep with a camera on you? I don't know.
It was a small one just in the corner. You're so exhausted by the end of filming every day. We were on an island. We were in Punta Cana in a mansion on the ocean. It was awesome.
That's awesome. But I was on a show, Tim. You might not even know this. It's called The Glass House, and it's like a Big Brother.
You told me that.
Yeah, but
and you were in It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, I was on a bunch of different stuff. But this is what was annoying is because of the strategy, they had to have cameras in the bathroom.
What?
Because you could go. Yeah, you could go. I was saying, you can go in the bathroom and talk strategy.
Yeah,
so
and
it
we
doesn't
would do
point
that,
towards the
yeah.
toilet. It points, to the way. So I'd be like. Like, oh my God, like, oh, there's all on camera. It's terrible. It was horrible. But yeah, so you have no privacy, not even in the bathroom. It was insane.
So yeah, it's just so people take a look at you, and you're on The Bachelorette. You have these images of you as how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot even.
6 foot. You have a broad chest, clearly working out. You're ripping your shirt open, covered in tattoos. All the women are fawning at you, and you're a woman.
Yeah, I think our physical appearance, and this is one thing the left has gotten right, our physical appearance doesn't define us. And again, I would just defer to the science, and the scientific literature makes it clear that it doesn't matter what you look like, how muscular you are. Your gender identity is how you identify and how you articulate it. It's your personal identity, which means it's personal. And so how broad my shoulders are, how big my chest is, or how little it is, doesn't matter.
Yeah. I'm just imagining, work with me on this one, Alex, that Josh and his buddies were sitting around drinking a beer, watching Monday Night Football, complaining about gender ideology, and then Josh was like, I'm just going to put on lipstick and tell them, and they're going to have to agree with me.
I think you're exactly right, and I think what you're doing is brilliant. It is like Andy Kaufman-esque, but I just...
Oh, Josh is upset.
Yeah, I know, Josh, and I'm not, I like you, Josh. I support you. I even support you however you want to dress, however you want to identify, but you keep on saying like the science, and I get confused with this, and Tim probably knows the answer better than me. What is the difference between sex and gender?
So gender is now defined as... something that we as a person, as an individual, can determine. And your sex is the biology. And no one is arguing that I know that trans women like me were born women. We would agree biologically we are males, but our gender identity is female. And
so we have this from New York City. This might help you out, Alex. This is a list of recognized genders in New York City. You'll notice bigendered, cross-dresser is drag king is a recognized legal gender in New York City. Drag queen, femme queen. Now here's what's interesting. Female to male, literally female -to -male is a gender, and right next to it, FTM is a separate gender.
And
which is female to male. That's what it's saying.
I just want to point out that all the health organizations too make it clear that you can be trans and non-binary and gender fluid at the same time. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about that if I fit into those other boxes, because you can be all of them simultaneously. But I'm just a trans woman right now, but you could be trans as well as non-binary and gender fluid at the same time.
I like this one, gender gifted. I
don't know what that is.
because it
You have an extra gender?
No. It's because being a man is a gift. So I am a man and I am gifted.
Some people would say it could be a curse, but I don't know. Josh,
Wait, real quick. You want to read this one, Alex? This is a legal listed gender.
Person of transgender experience.
I don't know what that is.
That doesn't even, but why is androgynous one of the last ones? I feel like that should be the first one. You know, a lot of people I'd say like Pat, right? You guys remember that SNL sketch?
Yeah, it's Pat. Androgen is also listed there. And so the issue with this is actually in New York City law, gender is defined as they give you this non-legal definition, but if you actually pull up city ordinance and human rights code, gender identity is considered self-expression.
Right.
So it's every and anything. So it creates an interesting legal conundrum, I suppose, in that a furry is a gender. And that's not an exaggeration. I'm not trying to be cute or silly or trolling. No. Quite literally, in New York City, you could have the gender of furry, and the law says you cannot be discriminated in the workplace based on how you dress and the name you use. And so the point I made up, and this is back in 2017, this is 7 years ago when I first covered this story, was that if you got a job at Starbucks, and then, you like Alex, you show up dressed in that, you say, I want to work here, I'll make coffee.
I'm a furry.
No, you wouldn't say that. On your first day of work, you show up in a full fursuit.
Yeah.
And you say your name is Vociferon, Herald of the Winter Mists. It would be a violation of New York City human rights law for them to refuse to use that name in full and to allow you to dress in a way that suited your gender identity. And so I called 3 different human rights law firms, and I asked them. There's I called one woman. I called an office and no one answered, and she was like, "I don't think I can answer these questions for you. Thank you and have a nice day." I got one guy on the phone, and he said, "Look, if you showed up to work dressed up like a wolf, they're gonna kick you out, and when you go to court, they're gonna laugh you out of court." And he said, this is the reason we have judges, okay? A judge is going to interpret the law. We know the intent of the law. The law is to protect transgender individuals. And so I just asked him, I said, okay, if a judge can look at the way I dress as a wolf and my name, Vociferon, as something to be mocked, what's to stop any other judge from looking at a male wearing a dress, calling himself Janet? Why can't he laugh at that person? And the lawyer actually didn't have a good reason. He said, honestly, it's a good point. I don't know. Just the judge's interpretation, I guess.
I think it comes down kind of to whether it's genuine or it's not.
But how do you know?
Obviously mine is, but I get a lot of comments.
Is that obvious, Josh?
And direct messages from people saying, hey, I'm a real trans woman, you're fake, or you're a fake trans woman. And I said, how is that? We're both biological males that were born and assigned male at birth that are... I identify as women now, and so what separates us and makes me fake and you real, and who is the arbiter of that? And so I get, that's upsetting to me when I get those messages, but I think it needs to be a sincere and genuine belief. Anyone that's lampooning this or mocking this or just pretending to be a different gender or one of these the 20 or so genders that were up there, anyone that's mocking that, that's not okay. But if it's a sincere belief like mine is, I think it should be respected. And I think that should be the defining characteristic of it.
This is what I think is, I feel like the high point of your work. Well, we get it. You're never going to say that it's, a gag or whatever, but the you have done nothing to everything you've done. I said this earlier, but everything you've done has been consistent with gender ideology and has been outwardly defensive and respectful of all of the claims they've made. Yet you still get attacked as a hoaxer for some reason. And this is what I'm trying to figure out. What is the line to where there is a 6'5" biological male wearing a dress with, you see this guy, big silicon or whatever,
those fake
boob suit,
things, yeah.
Big fake lips, and this person's like, "It's ma'am, excuse me, you refer to me as ma'am," and they're like, "You got it." And then when you're not even doing anything as crazy as that, they insult and attack you as if you're lying about it when you've followed all of the rules.
What's even more surprising, I would expect me to get attacked. I think what's surprising is who it's coming from. And it's coming from the people I thought would be accepting of me and that we're all about diversity and not judging people and being inclusive. So I think it's normal for people to be skeptical of something they don't understand. But what I find interesting is who is doing the attacking here, and often it seems to be coming from the left or people within my own community. A lot of it's coming from my own LGBTQIA plus community, and that's hurtful.
Because you are a lesbian, you still like women.
Well, I don't personally. I wouldn't I don't like to put labels on a lot of things, and I don't like to put labels on my orientation. But I like women.
Do you have autism?
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
No. I have a family member that has Tourette's, but no, I don't.
Because a lot of, you know what I mean?
Those are very different things.
They are
It's
much
on the
different.
spectrum. No, Tourette's is on.
really?
It is on the autism spectrum.
Is it
it's
really?
the very
Okay.
the smaller side of the. Yeah, it's
Because a lot of people that are trans, and this is conspiracy, and I think this is fine for you too, but a lot of people that are trans have autism. They've just done studies, not all trans people, and they say that there's an increase in autism, and maybe that's an increase in transgenderism.
What
you never
to
heard that
you
theory?
Correlates, or what is the causative
I don't know. I don't
link there? Why do you think that? Is there a broader point you're making about you think people
I do-
autistic would be confused or something?
Real quick, I do have a fact check. It's not on the spectrum, Tourette syndrome, but it does overlap with autism.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so this is what pops up when you search for it.
Okay.
TS and ASD include very similar things and overlap in their symptoms.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very.
If it overlaps, then it's on it. But okay.
Anyway,
Well, I was just curious. I didn't know if you.
I have not heard about those studies, Alex, and I don't know if there's any merit to them.
I could be wrong. I don't want to get a strike or anything like that. I don't want to, but I just, you do hear that. At least I hear that.
I don't have autism.
what's up with that video where the woman is at a pool filming you walking around and she said she caught you or something?
Yeah. What about that? You got
I went to the pool, and
Topless.
I was again. This is the thing. It's
Your
I can
nipples out.
I can present how I feel most comfortable presenting at any time, and again, that's the scientific literature makes it clear. And that day, I felt most comfortable. It is my body, my choice, and I felt most comfortable going to the pool and presenting more masculine. So I presented more mask, and I went to the pool, and someone filmed me while I was reading a book that day and filmed me and was upset that I was presenting mask that day and not femme enough for them. And
Was this in Illinois?
Yeah.
It's not legal for women to be topless in public in Illinois.
I was just presenting more masculine that day.
But you're a woman, right?
You're breaking
I
the
am,
law.
but
You're going to jail, Josh.
Again,
You're going to jail.
Again, the scientific literature makes it clear that I can present however I want in a more masculine or a feminine way, and no way is the right way, it says. It's however we determine.
Tim, we have to admit this. And Tim is a great debater. I'm an okay debater. But you're winning this debate because you're doubling down, dude. I mean, I don't know what to say because everything you're saying is the left's playbook. I mean, this is literally what we've been hearing for years now. So I don't know. You're winning this debate, sadly.
That's why I said Josh is the greatest actor of our generation.
He's
I mean,
good.
how many people could have maintained for we're going on, was it 4 months, 5 months?
I came out publicly in May 18th, I believe.
This is, like you said, Kaufman. This, honest question for people in the chat or whatever. How many personalities have dedicated, several months of their lives to actually, let me put it this way. Like, there's the question. How many people have been known to have done a full immersion? But have you guys ever seen The Prestige?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
You should definitely watch the movie. It's awesome. It's, was it Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman, Michael Caine, and it's about, there's two magicians and their assistants to a magician. They want to start their own acts or whatever. They become rivals over a tragedy, and then they hate each other. This one's really great because in the beginning, it was a spoiler. I don't know. It's a 30-year-old movie or whatever, but a 20-year-old movie. In the Michael Caine tells these two magicians, go and watch this magician and tell me how he does the fishbowl trick. And so they go to watch this act, and there's this old Chinese man, and he's struggling to walk, and he walks up to an empty table and throws a curtain over it. And then when he pulls it away, there's a full fishbowl on the table with a fish in it, and everyone's clapping. He's like, how did he do it? When they leave the theater, the old man's hobbling to the car, and they're helping him come to the car. And Christian Bale is like, that's the trick right there. He's pretending to be old and feeble when he's in public so that when people see his show, they can't understand how he does it. And then Hugh Jackman is with his girlfriend or whatever. The fishbowl's between his legs, and he's walking and hobbling, and he's like, Christian Bale's character saw it right away. His life was the act, and then that turns out to be a huge component of the movie or whatever. But anyway. Back to the original point. Very few people. I mean, how many people have turned their life into a performance art to call out something that is logically inconsistent, or like.
Well, I take umbrage at that, Tim, because I'm.
Well, not directed at you.
Not,
General
okay,
question.
I just wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have dedicated your life for this. I mean, you've probably lost a lot of friendships, and I'm sure your parents are probably mad, I'm guessing. So.
Well, my mom still accepts me. She's great, loves me unconditionally, as most mothers do. My father passed away in August of 2021, but I have lost some friends, and most of them were closed-minded bigots. Interestingly, they were on the left and were Democrats, but most of my Republican and conservative friends still totally support me through.
Have you gone pee in a woman's restroom?
Once. I try not to use the restroom in public.
Oh yeah, I saw that video. Was that a Walmart that you're?
Yeah, I was grabbing, I think, shaving cream, and I can't remember what I was grabbing. So I used it, and it was nice. It was clean. But I try not to use public restrooms. Usually I just, and I don't like to talk about that.
Has this been bad for your career?
What do you mean?
Like since you posted your first video saying that you were a woman, has this affected, as like your agent said, it's going to be hard to find you work? Or?
I don't have an agent.
So are you still doing reality TV or no?
No, I haven't done reality TV in 9 years. I did mental health advocacy online for 7 years, and then switched from blogging and talking about that to talking about my gender identity. So for the last 7 years or so, I was just raising awareness about depression, anxiety, OCD, things like that, which is something that you still see in my story highlights there. All of those highlights I created about cognitive behavioral therapy to treat depression, anxiety, OCD, and other thought disorders. So that's been a passion of mine.
What is Juris Doctor in your profile?
That I got a law degree in 2013 from Chicago Kent College of Law. So I got my Juris Doctor, yeah.
Wow.
So you're smart.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Everyone, I'm outside the DNC showing my support to Palestinians. I know if I was in their country, they would accept me with open arms, so I just want to do the same here. So, hey everyone, I'm out.
You do realize that it is a criminal act in Palestine to be trans.
Well, so, and again, I just want to say, I wanted to make the Palestinian people that come to America feel comfortable, because if I were in their country, I would want to feel comfortable. And so me showing my support that day, I'm actually Jewish. I'm culturally and ethnically Jewish. We're not religious Jews, and my parents converted to Christianity when I was a young child, but we're cultural and ethnic Jews on my maternal side. And so I just wanted to step out of my comfort zone and show support to Palestinians and just kind of reach an arm across the aisle. And so that's all I was doing there, because I can only fathom how uncomfortable many of them feel in this country, especially after September 11th, when radical Muslims hijacked planes and flew them into our buildings. And so I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. And so I was just it was just a overture, I guess.
And that was where you got confronted or attacked, or what happened?
I did verbally attacked by two people there who's I don't want to assume their gender. It was not clear how they would identify, but they were very aggressive with me. So
this is a one of two things, and they're both, I guess, insulting to you. But you are genuine, and your persona and view of things are so overlapping with trolling that even the left can't believe it's real, or it's a masterfully performed bit, right? And they're both, I guess, in the sense of your stated perception as of right now, both would be insulting to you.
Yeah, but I don't care what their view of me or what their perception of me is, so I don't internalize that.
Okay.
That was actually a good video.
We can't play the song.
Oh, okay. I was just roller skating there, having some fun.
It's a rollerblades. Is it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
How dare you?
Perfume. That's a great scent, by the way. Sunbathing.
That is so disgusting. No offense, Josh. That is too much. And I've done that. I put on the women's bathing suit. At least I did a one piece. I mean, damn. You know, if I'm
Well, I was trying to just break out of my comfort zone. One of the first videos I posted was me going to the beach in a bikini, just trying to break out of my comfort zone. So
at
why don't you play the one about the taco truck right by
one?
down one right there? That was
So I just want to talk for a second about a disturbing incident that just happened to me at the grocery store. There was a food truck in the parking lot. I don't know if it was associated with the grocery store or not, but they were serving tacos. And it was two white gentlemen, and there's an American flag hanging off of the truck. And they had sombreros on their head. And I just don't like that. I don't like people appropriating other people's cultures and identities for themselves. That just doesn't sit right with me. It's just one of those things. So I wanted to know what you guys think about that. And I have to admit the tacos were really good. And while I was there, I got two salsas. One of them is this delicious pico, and the other one is this green salsa. So I'm a big fan of Mexican food and tacos. I don't know if you guys are, but you should definitely try these.
So that was just I had gone to the store. It was a Mariano's by me, and yeah, there's these white guys, and I had chatted with them. They said they're Trump supporters. Whatever, that's fine. But the sombrero thing, I just felt like they're kind of appropriating. When you appropriate something that you're not like that with someone else's culture and you're mocking it, I didn't like that. But people had lots of opinions on that.
You've pinned this video. I think it's from 12 weeks ago.
Hey everyone, sorry I look like a hot mess today. I just wanted to vent a little bit. I feel like dates can be so cheap. The last couple of dates that I've gone on, I've expected the guy to pay because I feel like the man should pay for the first date, and they just don't want to. And so I just had a date earlier this afternoon, and I sat there when the bill came, and finally I just said, the guy should pay first, and kind of pushed it towards him, and he said, well, in that case, you should pay. And I just thought, that is so rude. And I just don't understand what the issue is. I feel like everyone's trying to get something for free these days. I don't understand. I just want to go on a date and have the man be a gentleman.
What do you think that man you were dating was trying to say by telling you should pay for the bill?
Well, I didn't want to go on the date in the first place because I'm mostly only attracted to women. They were a little more androgynous looking, which is why I agreed to go in the first place. But
open-minded.
Yeah. So when they suggested I pay, I feel like they were insulting me and saying, well, you're a man. And so I feel like it was an insult, like a subtle insult, and that's how I took it. So I was, offended by it. But I think people can split bills if they want to split bills. I think that's fine. And people are like, oh, your voice is higher there than it is other places. And I always say, my body, my voice. My body, my choice. And so I don't like when people try to police the modulations and intonations of my voice, and sometimes it presents higher like it does there. Sometimes it's a little more lower. Like today, I feel like it kind of depends on how I'm dressed and my sartorial attire.
What does sartorial mean?
It means clothing or...
I didn't
yeah.
know. Thank you. You're very smart. You have that law degree. You are smart.
Yeah.
I help me out with this one, Alex. I kind of feel like if I was on a date and after we ate, the woman went, the man should pay, and slid the bill to me, I'd be like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that either. I mean, you just kind of naturally, if you invite the girl out, I think you kind of have to pay. And if you go Dutch on a date, that's just that means the date was
sometimes
bad.
I like, and sometimes in my videos, I like to promote open discussion and debate. I feel like that's been lost in the country, and open dialogue and discourse. I think everyone especially on the left, thinks you need to all agree or think the same way, and if you don't, there can't be a conversation. I like there to be a conversation, and I try to promote dialogue on my page. And so that's something that, I try to do in some of my videos, is promote open discourse and dialogue. And I think a lot of people are outing themselves as bigots, and a lot of people are, trying to have a real dialogue and dialectic, and I think that's great. So
I love it, because I love calling out hypocrisy from these people. I think one of the biggest things that we do here at Timcast is criticism of fake news. The media is lying all the time, and it's so frustrating. And I'll preface, it's not all the time. We use corporate news sources for a lot of our sourcing, but we have to double, triple verify. And then it's more so when you find the bias in the fake news, it's heavy. It's the very fine people hoax, things like that, where they accuse Trump of doing things he didn't do. And then, with the stuff I see you're doing, just in a broader context, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, because I feel this way, and I'm sure they do, that you want them to just publicly expose their hypocrisy. When you see that person out pretending to be, supporting of left-wing causes or whatever, and they're hypocrites, they're lying, you want the world to be able to see those lies. And so what I see with your content, and again, it's nothing to do with you, it's the people responding to you, they espouse values that they then do not uphold. And each and every one of these people who comments and says things like, you're not really a woman because I said so. You brought this up a moment ago, Alex. There's two females who made a video saying, what was it like, just boys being silly or whatever?
Yeah, they were OnlyFans girls, and they pretended to be trans, and they got crushed by the trans community.
Saying, stop appropriating my identity and stuff like this?
I think they put like a fake
They were
penis
pretending, and again, I think we need to distinguish between
Were they?
people.
Were they?
Yeah, were they pretending?
Yeah, people who are pretending and people who aren't, and the only person who gets to decide if they are is themselves.
Yeah, but if you're
wait, that's the point. These two females who said they were boys, so they're trans men. How dare any of
nobody
these
but
trans
them
women?
Nobody but them
No.
can
They're-
say whether it's genuine or not. And I dare anybody to say that they aren't really trans.
And that's the point.
And I dare anybody to prove they aren't trans or that I'm not trans.
And that's the point. When these individuals made the video, it was it was trans women who insulted, attacked them, and told them to stop. And my response is, the conservatives are all saying these women are just grifting. Grifting is probably not the right word. They're making porn on OnlyFans, and they're doing this because they have a market for it. And my response is, based on gender ideology, they very well may just be transgender. You can't say not.
Are we going to have people policing and deciding whose identity is real and whose isn't? Is that what the left wants? They'll determine if it's real or if it's not.
Apparently.
Who is to say that those women's was real or not, what they were doing, the two OnlyFans models, other than them? We can't know, and I think it's wrong for us to assume. And I think in the name of tolerance and open-mindedness, we should trust that people are being genuine and honest. And I think it's wrong to try to police someone's gender identity. I take offense to that, and it's sad that a lot of that policing is coming from the left.
The interesting thing about the gender identity stuff, especially with like New York, is that race falls into the same exact category. Based on how they've legally defined gender, race is protected in the exact same way. And so, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on. We've got a lot of people out there who claim to be one race or another. It's actually a big component of the news cycle in politics right now. Donald Trump during the debate said, I don't care what she is. She said she was black. She put out whatever, I can say that. And now, all of a sudden she's black, whatever. There seems to be a question. Actually,
you have Rachel Dolezal, who's trans Rachel.
With the Kamala thing, though, I think that everybody's always agreed that like her dad was black, but she just didn't, I guess.
Her dad is Jamaican,
Well, but
I
I'm
believe,
saying-
and her mother's from India.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's that she doesn't kind of emphasize black culture. Like she doesn't identify as black. Like people know that she's black, but I guess she would put her Indian culture.
Her dad is
before that.
Jamaican, and her mom is Indian.
Can you be transracial though, like Rachel Dolezal? Do you think that she is valid?
I think we should defer to the science on that.
What is the science? Because you can get tan. I mean, I could get tanner. Does that make me black?
I don't know what the science is on that issue. I always, at least with gender identity, prefer to follow and defer and be in line with the science.
What about child gender hormone therapy?
I think...
Oh, wait. I just Google searched Kamala Harris' dad. It says he's Jamaican American of Indian descent.
Okay.
Yeah, there's.
It's not. Wikipedia is saying he's not black.
Yeah, I said
Really?
he's Jamaican. He's not African American. He's Jamaican. And
We
I
know he's a
believe her
Marxist.
mom is Indian.
Well, it's weird that she doesn't like. She's estranged from her dad right now. And I
His
know
name
a
is
lot of-
Donald J. Harris.
That's crazy.
Donald J. Trump. Yeah.
Do you know that her mom's name is Shamala?
Well, you know what I think the weirdest thing is that, and I don't know if you talked about this on your show, but how Veep, Louis, what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's playing the vice president, and in the show, she becomes the 47th president because the older president is like too senile. And it's just weird that is literally happening right now. It's like, it's almost like this is all planned, or like there's people in
It's
charge
hard.
of all that.
I want to understand Biden's stance on things, but I have trouble understanding what he's trying to say, and he seems lost a lot of the time.
I like Biden now that he put on that Trump hat. No, I'm
No, I think Kamala Harris's dad is Indian Jamaican mixed.
Yeah, but I believe her mom is also Indian.
and she lives
Yeah,
in Canada.
Yeah,
and-
so she's maybe like a quarter Jamaican or whatever. I mean, you look at the photos of her dad. I pulled the photos of her dad. It's
But again, nobody can determine
Jamaican
or
Indian.
decide it except for themselves. And I think it's wrong to try to police that.
all Kamala has to do is say the N word, and then we'll know. But I haven't ever heard her say that.
that was actually a joke someone made, but it's an interesting point. Who said? Was it Kevin Sorbo who said that?
Did he say that? I didn't see that. I
Yeah, I
follow
think-
Kevin. Kevin's great. But
I think he made that point that, if Kamala were to say the N-word, would people be offended by it? And the left got offended that he brought that up. And his point was simply like, in rap music and all of this culture, it is considered socially acceptable if you are black to use the N-word. And that, I think he made an interesting question. How would they react? If they would not react favorably. It would be shocking to the press and the public if she were to say such a thing.
I think so. I think people would be
Yeah.
a little offended.
I don't know though. If she was rapping, like if
I mean, if she was like rapping lyrics to a song, a white person can basically say the N word. But I'm just saying, if she walked in that barbershop and was like, "What's up, my N words?" It would. I think that would probably rub people the wrong way because there's videos of TikTok of, of African Americans that kind of. They talk kind of like Urkel, they talk like a white guy, right? And then they say the N word and it goes viral, and everybody in the chat's like, "Man, he's not allowed to say the N word." I got to find the video, but it's
because
like,
if you say it like a white dude, it's bad. Or
yes, even though the guy's black in the video saying it, but he says it like Steve Urkel, and everybody's mad.
Do you remember when there was that black radio host who was on an interview, and the woman was like, "Well, you're a white man." He's like,
That was
What?
he's famous. That's Jesse Peterson.
No. This one was. Let me pull this one up.
I've heard that one. I thought that was Jesse Peterson.
Do you like Jesse Lee Peterson?
His content
David
is
Webb.
very interesting. Oh, okay. I thought
A
that was
CNN analyst. Let's play it. Let's play it. This is from 2019. Do we have the audio?
different parts of the media world, done the work so that I'm qualified to be in each one. I never considered my color the issue. I considered my qualifications the issue.
Well, David, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I
And to
have
answer
the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege. This whole long conversation, I don't have time to get into it.
Ariva, I hate to break it to
You have to
you,
invite-
but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Okay, then.
You went to white privilege. This is the falsehood in this. You went immediately with an assumption. Your people, obviously, or you didn't look. You're talking to a black man
They
who
gave you
started
wrong
out in rock
information.
radio in Boston, who crossed the paths into hip hop, rebuilding one of the greatest black stations in America, and went on to work for Fox News, where I'm told apparently blacks aren't supposed to work. But yet you come with this assumption and you go to white privilege. That's actually
David, let me correct-
insulting.
It is, and I apologize because my people gave me wrong information. They told me
the
they
whole
sent me some
white
information
privilege
about-
thing is
David,
insulting.
can I apologize and correct the record? I want to apologize. I was given wrong information about you, and I apologize.
But based
for that.
on my
But
color, you were going to something that I was part of. And just to add to it, my family background is white, black, Indian, Arawak, Irish, Scottish. I mean, it's so diverse. I'm like the UN when it comes to this. This is part of the problem with driving a narrative around a construct like white privilege. Privilege is one thing. We're applied wealth, economy, various social factors, but not necessarily.
This was huge because it's I mean, another crack in the armor, I suppose, of this false identity ideology that they push, where she didn't actually have an argument against any of his ideas, so she attacked his race. It's racist.
Well, they're racist. I mean, that's when you make everything about race, that's racist. And I think that's just kind of the hypocrisy getting exposed right there. So, yeah, I mean, obviously,
I was going to
left
say,
is the racist
just
one.
parroting what Alex just said, I don't like to do it, but the media is constantly playing identity politics and talking about race, and I feel like dividing and balkanizing people based on racial identity and other identities, that it then predictably and inexorably leads to situations like this where race is constantly on people's mind because of the media and the far left, and then they start making assumptions based off of that because they can't stop obsessing and thinking about it, and then it leads to situations like this. So I think we should stop obsessing and constantly talking about people's identities, whether they're racial or gender, and I feel like most of the people obsessing and talking about it are on the left and in the media.
I agree. But I mean, every single one of your videos on Instagram is basically talking about your identity.
Again, I like to encourage conversation and dialogue and discourse. So on my Instagram, I try to do that. But in my everyday life, I don't go around doing it. I think the media, big media, has a larger responsibility than an individual to make sure that they are promoting healthy discourse. And I'm promoting, I think, healthy discourse. And I think the onus is on them to make sure they're doing it also, especially since they're much bigger than I am. And I feel like they don't.
Do you guys feel like at some point all of this stuff goes back in the bottle? You know, like, do we get to a point where it's going to be more like the 90s and, you know, people just aren't going to be talking about identity as much?
We didn't talk about black shows back in the 90s, right? There is the show that happens to be, it was incidental or tangential
UPN,
to
like
it.
the Wayans brothers, I think there was black.
In Living Color.
I'm saying there were black, they weren't known. Lots of shows weren't known as, I didn't say I'm watching a black show, Mom. It's called Family Matters. I watched Family Matters.
I loved Family Matters.
Yeah, man. And that's a huge point. That was TGIF.
Yeah.
You know? Was that where Urkel was?
Yeah, they weren't.
We're on
known.
Urkel
Stefan.
yeah,
They were
Stefan.
black shows, but that's not what we referred to them as.
Yeah,
I feel like our
Cosby's?
vernacular has changed, and we're constantly referring to it because the media and the far left demands it by their identity or their racial identity, and it's just a show. They're just a person. That person on the news is a broadcaster. We don't have to constantly talk about and dissect the fact that, oh, that's a black person. It's just a person. And so can we go back to that time? And I hope that we do. And that question you asked him was great. Are we going to go back to the 90s when people were just people and shows were just shows and we weren't obsessing over their identities?
Well, like maybe late 90s. I mean, obviously you had the LA riots, so race in the news was a huge issue. But it's a good point that In Living Color was not a black show. It was on Fox or whatever. It was like a major network comedy show, and it had a large black cast. But it also had
Jim Carrey.
Right, Jim Carrey. I think it had a couple white people on it. And then you had Family Matters, is a really good point. And I remember growing up, and never once did anyone ever say to me anything about this show is a black show. And everybody knew Urkel. It was one of the biggest shows.
I don't normally watch CNN, but I watched it leading up to the debate, and every other word was about someone's identity or their racial appearance or their gender identity or orientation. It's absolutely over the top, and I want people to just judge people based on their character. That's how I want them to judge me. That's how I want to judge them, and I don't think we should be judged by our outward appearance. And unfortunately, most of the people that seem to be doing this judging and these assumptions are on the far left.
Well, Tim, to what you said earlier, is like, or is this going to be bottled back up? And I think about, like, is the pendulum going to swing back? But it wasn't that long ago, you keep on bringing up the 90s, where Kurt Cobain wore dress and it was cool, So,
but that was punk rock. Like that, people bring this up, and it's not the idea that he was trans or anything like that. He was doing shock content. I mean, Howard Stern, that dude was nuts.
Yeah,
in the
he
90s.
dressed in a wedding dress and on his book, and
that dude probably got more racial slurs in his belt than.
Yeah, he said that he went on The View and said he didn't say the N-word. There's literally even worse than Joe Rogan's supercut of the N-word. There's like 30 times where he said the N-word, and he's just a liar. At least Joe Rogan admitted it and said this.
It's interesting who gets a pass and who doesn't. Jimmy Kimmel wore blackface.
Yeah.
That's totally unacceptable, but someone else mentions blackface and they get fired.
Oh yeah, it was Megyn Kelly, right?
Oh yeah, and you know what? Can I comment on her because she just
Please.
Yeah.
So Megyn Kelly just did a video on me a few days ago. On
YouTube?
She was constantly. Well, you can just bring it up. Yeah, and I mean, she used to be my celebrity crush, but after this, she's not.
I feel like Megyn
So
Kelly
we
really.
talked
she-
about-
Brett Cooper.
That's Brett Cooper.
You have to type in my name. It just says Megyn Kelly Bachelorette Star.
Oh,
What
okay.
you'll have to type into YouTube.
Megyn Kelly's really anti-trans, I've noticed. Hasn't she? I mean, that's what I've just seen from the clips and stuff.
And we please
She seems anti-trans.
Yeah.
Is this the video?
Yeah, that's it.
This one's it.
Yeah.
talk about the Bachelor contestant who now says he's a woman, which we all know on this show is not possible, sir. He is claiming that he's a woman, but some believe it's all a big troll. Okay, he has full body tattoos, which he shows off.
So what?
He has short hair, like man hair. He has facial hair. Look at this. Look at this guy. It's unbelievable what they can call
She's
a
a
woman these
bigot.
days.
We need to call her
Josh
out.
Sider, 37, former Bachelorette star. He was on season 11 of the TV show in 2015 from Chicago. And as of this past May, claims he's a transgender woman. If you just substitute fake for trans, you can follow. He's a trans woman, which means he's fake. And he now has revealed he's not on hormone medication and is unsure if he will get surgery, but we're supposed to
don't
be
need to
treating him like he's a woman. Here's a little bit of
So she goes on. Of course, I'm not going to play the full 8-minute video, but you have critique of Megyn Kelly.
Well, I just, again, the scientific literature, whether it's NIH, WPATH, WHO, makes it very clear that to be trans, you don't need to be on hormones, you don't need to transition, you don't need to have gender dysphoria, and only the person can choose how they want to identify or transition if they want to transition, but they don't have to. And all of the people, whether they choose those things or not, are valid. So I would just point Megyn Kelly to the science. And also, she used to be my celebrity crush when I was younger, but watching her bash me and say those things, that's no longer the case.
Have you reached out to Dylan Mulvaney at all?
I haven't. I'm not a fan of Dylan. I think that Dylan, she said she inserts and uses tampons, and I just think she was making a mockery of the trans movement, but she's celebrated. So I'm not a fan of hers.
Why do you think Dylan is celebrated so much, though? Because Dylan's had a meteoric rise where I actually trolled Dylan when Dylan had like 30,000 followers, but just shortly thereafter just blew up. Are you
Because
on that?
30,000, you said?
Like, yeah, when she was like, or he, whatever,
I want to clarify this too for Dylan Mulvaney. I do not believe Dylan Mulvaney is trans. I think Dylan Mulvaney is doing a bit that is intended to insult trans people. I am not being cute. We're not trying to troll. If you look at Dylan Mulvaney's very early on content,
Price is Right, or did you see that one?
The Price is Right is totally different. Dylan Mulvaney in The Price is Right was just.
He just seemed like a gay guy.
Well, I mean, The Price is Right shows some kind of narcissistic behavioral disorders where he's swimming, he's paddling on the ground, he's doing, and they're looking at him like, what is he doing? He's desperate for that spotlight. But Dylan Mulvaney's original Days of Girlhood videos, there's one where it's like, I'm a girl now, so I'm going to be completely irresponsible, spend money I don't have, insult people, be mean to everybody. And it's like, that was just like a comedy bit from someone who's insulting women. And then the most famous one is the hiking heels, where Dylan Mulvaney's like, I'm a woman now, so I'm going hiking wearing heels. Look at the bugs. Woo! And I'm like,
It's a good impression.
but that whole thing, if Steven Crowder went outside and said, I'm trans, I'm wearing hiking heels, everybody would be like, haha, it's a bit, because we know Steven Crowder he does comedy and he's mocking the
Because
ideology.
she's left and he's right. That's why she's celebrated, and that's why no one says anything. So that's why Steven Crowder can't do it, because his beliefs are right, and because she's woke and her views are on the left, she will be accepted. And the reason I'm being doubted is because I don't fall in line or tote the official far left narrative, and so they're trying to invalidate me. So I think it doesn't depend on your transition or how you look so much as what your ideological beliefs are.
Yep.
And so long as they're far left and they fall in line with their official narrative, they are going to celebrate you and lift you up. And if you dare to have different ideological beliefs, they are going to try to erase you and cancel you and invalidate you. And so they're not as tolerant as they appear.
You ever hear of Nuka Zeus?
That's Nuka Zeus.
Someone said I should look up Nuka Zeus, a guy who took melanin to change himself from white to black. Is that for real?
Well, in the black community,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hate between dark black people and light-skinned black people. I didn't realize that until recently.
Yeah, like Drake catches a lot of stuff for being light-skinned.
What is this? Yeah, so here's, I don't know, Noah Sanders super chatted saying, look up Nuka Zeus.
This
Because if
guy.
I'm not black, I don't want to live, so I risk my life with injections. He injects himself with melanin or whatever.
Oh my gosh, this is insane.
When you found that solution, and what's it called? Melanotan?
Melanotan too.
Melanotan. Okay.
Melanotan?
How did you find out about melanotan?
How did I find out about it? I've seen pictures on the internet, floating around here and there, and I thought it was dysfunction disorder, but they found out that when people go in the sun, they just happen to get, a lot darker, a lot faster. And I started, at first, it didn't do anything different with my libido. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Libido.
That guy looks insane.
Man,
And how does he not know you can only change your gender? You can't change your race.
Why can't you change your race?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know why he. Well, I just again would defer to the
Science.
literature, and the science makes it clear you can only change your gender.
Well, so I have a question though. Like, the thing about the gender stuff and the race stuff, someone could actually be, 1/8 black, and people don't know because they can't tell. Who's that actor? That famous actor. He plays. He was in Prison Break.
Well, quarter black Garrett is a quarter black, I believe.
Yeah, the main guy, right? The bald guy. Is he the one that?
No. In Prison Break, there's two characters. One of them is what was it? Wentworth. What's his name? What was it?
Miller, I think.
Is that his name?
The main guy. That's big.
The bald guy with the shave. Well, he has a shaved head, right? Kind of like
Wentworth
Channing
Miller.
Tatum.
Yeah. Wentworth Miller, and he also plays Captain Cold or whatever. I'm pretty sure he's like 1/8 black or something, isn't he?
Kind of looks like Channing Tatum. Maybe Channing Tatum's an 1/8 black. He's a really good dancer. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize or anything. But.
You kind of are.
Yeah, Wentworth Miller. His father is African American, Jamaican, German,
Wow.
English,
That's
and
just-
he's mixed race.
that's why you should never judge a book by its cover.
And so that's the thing, right? If he came out and said, "I want people to address me as a black man," I mean, that he'd be attacked for it. They like the left would go after him. They'd say, "How dare you?" I don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who'd be like, "Okay, fine," but that's the interesting thing about like the transracial thing. If someone is 1/16, I don't know, black or whatever, can they come out and say, "I want to identify as a black person, and I want people to recognize that"?
I guess we just have to trust Webster's dictionary and then, what they define race, because they make updates and often change the definitions of things. So
That's how we know. That's how we keep track of it.
maybe they'll change it in
Webster's.
a couple of years. So I would just defer to that and the science on that, but I don't know.
Did we talk about the children? We did talk about the.
You asked, yeah, I didn't answer. Can you ask it again?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about hormone therapy for children under 18 years old?
Yeah, so I think we should let kids be kids, and I think most people can agree with that. I don't think we should influence or encourage them one way or the other. I think we should just, if a boy wants to wear a pink shirt and play with dolls, let him. It doesn't matter. He's a kid. That's a double-edged sword, though. It also goes with don't influence him and try to convince him that he's something he's not. So I see a lot of people, there's an influencer that is constantly trying to encourage their kid, their biologically male child, to be female or feminine and do feminine things and wear girl clothes. Let the kid have autonomy, let the kid have agency, and let him be a kid. So I would say we should not be interfering with children. And if they want to do blockers or hormone therapy, I think like with anything, there is a big responsibility there, and they should wait until they're 18 to make any decisions that are going to have colossal impacts on their life. Their hypothalamus isn't even fully developed until they're 25. We should not be encouraging them or letting them make life-changing decisions like genital mutilation until they are at least 18.
And Josh, you are a great actor, and I know, like I say, this is obviously a bit, and that's my opinion, but your biggest problem is, and we brought up Dylan Mulvaney, because you went on The Bachelor and you were a heterosexual male trying to date a female, you're not going to have support from the LGBTQ community. And I think that's what's hurting you the most in this whole thing, is that you're not gay. I think that's what is holding you back from getting. I
don't like labels, but I like women, so technically
You are a lesbian, yeah.
But I have always, I'm part of the community and I've been part of it, but it's not just me. A lot of my followers have voiced the fact that although they are gay or bi or trans, they don't feel part of the community. And what they voiced to me is that the community has been taken over by extreme voices. They feel like it is no longer accepting. They feel like it only elevates the most extreme voices. And so they don't feel like it's an inclusive community. And I have to say that during my experience, I'm in agreement with that.
I'd like you to shoot some content at a gay bar or one of these trans rallies and see how you're accepted. I know you're at the DNC, but I'd like to see other people's reactions.
Yeah, I haven't been. I went to gay bars occasionally in Chicago and Boys Town. They're pretty cool.
What about girly bars?
Like normal, like heterosexual.
No. I think it's
lesbian bars.
Andersonville.
Andersonville is I used to dance occasionally at one bar there too.
Have you gone up there recently?
I was in Andersonville about a year ago, but not recently.
What is Andersonville like a?
It's a lesbian. Yeah. So for those that don't,
Boys Town is
like Wrigleyville, Lakeview is Boys Town, and then it's Andersonville is Ladies Town. They call it. Yep. It's kind of weird that it's separated that way. I don't know, but I guess.
I don't know why there has to be all this separation. Sometimes I think about it and I feel like the left actually separates people a lot rather than bringing them together. There's always trying to taxonomize and categorize people and things and identities. It's odd. I thought they would bring us together. But
I agree with you on that, but I think the Boys Town and the Ladies Town thing, it's because like if you're a dude and you want to meet dudes, if you go to any random neighborhood, I mean, you're gonna be looking for what, like three people out of 100, or no, less than that. Like maybe 1 out of 100 guys is gonna be interested. You go to Boys Town, it's 9 out of 10. But if you're a woman, and it's the same thing. So the reason they create these communities is because the women are like, I don't want to waste any time. I want to know for sure that all the people here are going to be interested and available, or some degree. But then it does create a weird circumstance where you have quite literally these neighborhoods segregated, and it's it's weird. I mean, and it's true too for race as much as it is for orientation. Chicago is heavily racially segregated. Like, I
live there. Yeah.
Do you want to say what neighborhood you live in?
Yeah, I live in right by Roscoe Village.
Oh, okay. It's like north area.
Yeah, north of the city.
Are you from Chicago?
I'm from Champaign-Urbana, which is where the University of Illinois is. So I grew up
from Chicago. I grew up in.
Oh, okay. I did my undergrad at the U of I. Lived 10 minutes from there in my family home where my mom still lives in Champaign-Urbana. I did my undergrad there and then came up to Chicago for law school.
I recommend people who really want to understand the left and Democrat policies and all that, spend some time in Chicago. You can go to parts of the city where when you cross the street, the language changes. Not like where I grew up, Archer and Cicero, on one side, billboards English. You cross the street, everything's Spanish.
Cicero, Spanish.
Cicero,
Berwyn, Cicero, North Riverside,
and it's crazy because the advertisers are putting up ads. It's not malintent. It's just why are we going to put up an English ad in a neighborhood that only speaks Spanish?
Well, that's how it is in like West Dallas. All the billboards are in Spanish,
But I just mean for Chicago, I certainly understand. And if you're in Dallas, right, you've got a lot of Spanish influence, especially. But in Chicago, where I grew up, you cross from the south, from like 48th Street, you go north to 47th. It goes from all white, all black, instantly. Like you cross a street and everyone's black. I don't. Is that how it works in other cities? I mean, because
I don't know. Yeah, mostly, and in Champaign-Urbana, that's a smaller college town, campus town. But in Chicago, I'm thinking of moving. Crime there is just out of control, and it's weird because Biden said MAGA is the biggest threat to America, but I don't think MAGA's the ones that's carjacking and committing violent armed robberies and murdering people every weekend. I've just been looking, and they don't look like MAGA Republicans to me. But yeah, it's just become a very crime-ridden city, and people are being carjacked all the time, even in the Gold Coast and places that, Tim, are once very nice, pleasant places to live have been taken over by, they're busting out shop windows of small businesses where there's hardworking people trying to have small businesses, which Kamala apparently loves, and people are, robbing them and setting them on fire. And so it's just kind of sad to see a city that I once loved devolve. And it's pretty violent there now.
Do you own a gun?
I do.
Yeah, I think you have to.
Man, I saw a video of some urban explorers, and it was like Instagram auto-fed it to me.
Where they go to abandoned places?
Yeah, and it was in Chicago, and it's like we got into an abandoned skyscraper in Chicago, and I was like, oh, wow, where's that? Like, where could that be? And it was like a prominent downtown building that I used to go to and eat during lunch at work. I was like, what the? It's only been 10 years. I left Chicago in 2010. 14 years later, the city's fallen apart to that degree.
You make a
Holy crap.
good point, but I think the conclusion to that point is it seems to be Democratic policies that are directly leading to this. And I think what we need is more two-parent homes. I think we need homes where the fathers are present. I think we need kids that are being raised by families, unlike what BLM says. Families do matter. Nuclear families matter. Having two-parent homes matters. And I think what we're seeing is a cultural decline that's happening because we don't have that, and it's leading directly to crime. And it's not rocket science, and I think most of us understand what's going on, but the far left refuses to say anything about it. And this is another reason why I'm a libertarian, because I believe in freedom to do what we want, but we can't do that if we're not safe and if we're being murdered while we're trying to live our life. And I think Democratic policies are in directly against living a libertarian life often. And that's why I'm just not a fan of the far left, because it's hard to be free when you're being carjacked.
Josh, and I look at your tattoos and stuff. You seem like an extreme guy. Do you like to party? Like, do you like to go out? Do you drink? And I mean, do you?
No, I rarely drink. I don't go out a lot. If I do, it's out to eat.
You don't smoke weed or anything?
Occasionally I will. I was smoking vape a decent amount a few months ago. I haven't done it lately.
There's a lot of toxins in those.
Yeah, there is a lot.
Those really scare me though, because the vape that scares me more than the regular marijuana.
Yeah, that's why I put it down, because I like to be a healthy woman, and I just don't know what's in that stuff, and I don't want to put things into my body that are changing my body. I just don't want to do that. So I like to keep it pretty organic. So I try to lead a healthy lifestyle. I spend a lot of time in the gym, but I'm trying to, take down muscle mass and get a little more leaner, just so it's congruent with my gender identity now.
Well, women can't have muscles?
They can, just not. I personally don't like the aesthetic of a bulky look. I prefer a leaner look.
All right, Josh, and I told you this before, but this is the next step that you have to do, in my personal opinion, is you have to compete against biological females in some sort of sport. I think it was Zuby. Was it Zuby that went super viral doing that? He
just did he did a deadlift, and then it was like, there you go, I broke the record.
I think doing it just to do it is wrong, but there's things I'm passionate about, and if they don't create an independent trans league, all just following the rules and the science, I'd be forced to compete against cis women and those things. I do enjoy bodybuilding and working out, like I said.
Boxing?
Occasionally, yeah, I like to hit the bag, and I'm actually pretty good at it.
But I think, the advantage especially is if you were going to go compete as a woman, you just wouldn't need to train at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty athletic. But again, I think just doing it to do it or try to prove a point is dumb. I like to follow rules. I'm a rule follower.
Don't think about the haters. Just think about the prize money.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, one day I may enter a competition. It may just so happen that, I'm competing against cis women because of the rules and the science. And, I hope I would do well and perform to the best of my ability. And if that means that they lose and I win, it is what it is. But I think it's cruel to just go out there and try to crush. Like Leah Thomas, I have some issues with what she did.
Wow. Can you expand on that a little bit? Why you don't like Leah Thomas?
Well, I don't want to say I dislike her. I don't know how far along in her transition or gender identity she was.
They swam on the men's team for 3 years, and then I believe that they had to take hormone therapy for 1 year, and then they were able to.
That's usually the rule, is 1 year of hormone therapy. It, to me, just smacks of being unfair, but again, I'm a rule follower, and she's probably just following the rules, but it does something to your, when you read about that, and there's women that were crying, cis women that are, identify as the gender they were born biologically, and they're crying, and Leah Thomas is winning, and it's sad to see hopes and dreams over 18, 20 years that are dashed because of biological man, transitioned into a trans woman, but it's just the rules, and she's just playing by them. So I guess I can't blame.
I think the easiest sport where you could infiltrate would be cycling. I think that's the one where they're letting.
Infiltrate.
You could, and you're strong enough. I bet you could probably compete with the women at a high level in cycling. I'm just looking at your frame.
Yeah, I'm not into bike. Infiltrate. Again, the verbiage you use, I would disagree with. But I would.
You should enter a women's contest, but then lose intentionally to prove a point.
Yeah.
What's the point that would be proven?
Is that there's no unfair advantage for trans men or women, whatever.
Yeah, so then you could.
Yeah, I don't like doing things just to. I would never do something just to prove a point, or
You wouldn't do something to prove a point.
No, I wouldn't, and I wouldn't do something like that. Again, if I'm passionate about it, I would, do it. I'm passionate about something. Cycling, I'm not very passionate about.
I was just thinking what sports you could probably get into right away. Because boxing.
I think I would do very well. I think I would do well in whatever sport.
You could be an Olympic boxer.
She was actually a hermaphroditic, the one who won.
Amin Khalifa and Lin
she's
Yue-Ting,
hermaphroditic. She genuinely was born with X, Y, I believe, chromosomes, but female genitalia. So that's a much more nuanced issue that a lot of people on the right were getting wrong, and were saying wrong, fallacious things, saying, oh, she's a trans woman. She wasn't. She is a scientific, legal hermaphrodite when she was born, with both male and female body parts DNA. And her gender was assigned and chosen throughout her childhood, but was always consistently female. And so she is suing now a number of people that made false claims, including J.K. Rowling and some other people, because they did say things that were patently false.
Well, you actually brought up a good point, and we've talked about this a lot. And I remember taking a gender studies class at LSU, Louisiana State University, and they teach you that even though it's a very, very, very small percent, but there is a percent of people that are born intersex,
right?
With either hermaphrodite, multiple genders, gender mutilation, and that the parents have to decide right then. The earlier that the child starts identifying as that gender,
right,
is best for their, acclimation into it, right? It's just better for them to identify earlier. The problem is now they've taken that same thing for people that are born intersexed, and now they've applied it to 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that want to transition their surgery transition their sex. Instead of just waiting a few years, now they're using the same, I guess, medical diagnosis that they would do on an infant or a baby to teenage kids. And I think that's the huge problem, because there used to be gender reassignment clinics. There's just a few in like the 60s or 70s. Now there's like 20 in every state.
So you don't have a problem with hermaphroditic or intersex babies being assigned something or transitioning or choosing a gender, but now you're saying they're choosing the gender not at 1 or 9 months old, but at 14, 15, 16 years.
And that's where I have a disagreement with it. Like I said, like a baby's born intersex, Aman Khalifa was probably born hermaphroditic.
She was, yeah.
Yeah. And so they had to decide, she's going to be a female, even though they have XY chromosomes and their body structure is of a man. So yeah, that's a tough decision.
It's tough because she shouldn't be prohibited from competing.
I think she should have probably been prohibited, because
that's tough.
It is tough.
That's tough.
Tim, what do you think about Amin Khalif, considering that they were born like that? I mean, that is a good debate.
That's not that they shouldn't be fighting.
I agree. I think if you have the XY chromosomes, you should be excluded. And there's the IFB said that they are not allowed to compete, but the Olympics said it was okay. And
they said their passport says it, so it's fine.
Yes.
But that's not a consistent or logical ruling.
Was that what the Olympics said?
Because some countries allow people to change their passports and some don't. So they've created an inconsistent rule base where if you got a passport with female on it, you could be an Olympic boxer. So just your choice. That's the Olympic rules.
The Olympics is more progressive than other sports organizations, is my understanding. They tend to be more progressive in their views.
I think we should just get rid of women's sports.
Well, I don't know. The WNBA is on fire right now. Caitlin Clark, dude. I don't know.
They're cheating. It's all cheating.
What do you mean? Well,
you can't simultaneously say we've created a sport for one gender, but that anyone can be any gender, but then we're going to keep certain people out based on what we think. So right now, this is the logical circumstance of American sports. The WNBA is great. Caitlin Clark is so awesome. They compare her in the press to like Steph Curry, and they say she's the same, even though it's different distance between. It's a shorter distance for the 3 points. I think the hoop is lower.
The balls are smaller.
Balls are smaller. So it's not the same stats. They act like it is. If they want to play this game and say it's the same thing, then normalize the size regulations for the sport. Don't create two different ones at the same time. If the argument is that anyone can be a woman, well, then it is cheating for the WNBA to not be drafting biological males who identify as women to play.
Well, Brittany Griner, who is one of the most famous WNBA players, not just because of the Russia scandal, identifies and it said that they're going to be called dad.
Really?
Yes. So they say Brittany Griner.
I'm ignorant on this. Is she trans? Because I saw a video and I thought
no breasts.
Is she
they've had the
trans?
mastectomy, and I believe that
Brittany Griner had a mastectomy?
Yeah, type in Brittany Griner topless right now, Tim. Look what comes up.
I've seen those videos where Brittany Griner's walking around in shorts and be like, "What up, dude?"
Type in
where she had her breast removed, or they had their breast removed.
Really? I did
Yes,
not know
yeah.
that.
Just type in. I don't know if you could show it on YouTube. I mean, I've showed it before. It's on their Instagram.
So is she transitioning to man? Should she be playing in the NBA?
Just type in. It's like Brittany Griner shooting.
I'm not gonna look that up.
Yeah,
I can't play that on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, but I'll just pull it up.
So is she transitioning into manhood if she got a mastectomy? Then is she?
There's viral videos on TikTok and on Twitter of Brittany Griner like walking around in shorts with no shirt on, and it's just some guy. Like, I don't know if it's actually Brittany Griner because it just looks like some dude.
It is Brittany Griner, but Brittany Griner is more masculine than probably all of us in this thing. I mean, let me try to find it. Okay, actually, yeah, somebody did bring up a good point. What was the deal?
Brittany Griner posted these.
Yeah, it was on their Instagram. What was the deal with the death hoax? What was that all about?
There's no mastectomy. That's just a.
We got to talk about. Yeah, we got to talk about that though, Josh. What? Because people do want to know.
No, Brittany Griner's a woman. Yeah.
Why do you say that now?
Belly button. Female belly buttons are below the hip line.
Okay. Well, that doesn't matter. But Tim, we got to ask Josh. Josh had a viral post.
But it could be the like one of these I forgot what they're like syndromes or whatever where certain like hormones are you're.
Oh, she probably has those hormones. Yeah, Matt. Like
no. There can be so like Iman Khalif might have that thing where it's I forgot what it's called, but this is what everyone was talking about, where you're born biologically male, but your body's like immune to testosterone, to androgens. So, like the body develops female because the male hormones aren't actually affecting the body properly, but it is an XY person. I think Brittany Griner might have that. I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but Brittany Griner posted photos topless playing basketball, and it's like I kind of don't feel like that's something like a woman would do. However, when you look at the photo, you're like, oh, that's a female hip line. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're trying to identify as a male, and just type.
And they shouldn't be in the WNBA. I'm
Do
sorry.
you think Brittany Griner should be not
Eliminated.
allowed? Wow.
So there's a professional skateboarder that goes by Leo Baker. Was born Lacey Baker, one of the best female.
I saw their documentary.
One of the best female skaters in the world. Now, I got no beef, right? But I'm going to have to criticize where criticism is due. I have friends who are friends with Leo, and I personally met this person.
Wait, this
before.
is a female to male transitioner.
Yes. And so here's the issue I take, okay? One, I will say, when I had met this person, it was a she who went by Lacey Baker. I have friends who was friends with her. We had skated before, and she was really good. At some point, she came out and said now she was going by he and was a trans man, and still kept competing in the women's.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time where they say yeah.
And that pissed me off. I said, look, man, I'm trying to be nice and accommodating. By all means, if these are the rules you want to abide by and you think this is fair, you are now a man. Get out of women's skateboarding. And Leo Baker didn't do it. However, after like a couple of years, I think, finally Leo said, I'm not a man. I'm just trans, but I'm quitting. I'm not going to skate. I'm not going to compete anymore. And I think that was why, because there's this hypocrisy. If it's a biological male who wants to compete, the male will compete against women. But if it's a female who wants to be male, this person will still compete against women. It only flows in one direction. So this is a broken
because
system.
that shows you where they have the
Consistency,
advantage.
for sure.
Well, because they don't have an advantage doing it the other way.
It's not. You can phrase it that way. I'd say this. With all due respect to Leo Baker, Leo would never qualify for any of the top men's athletic events. That's just it.
Does Leo win all the women's events? Is Leo?
I think Leo, as Lacey, used to win and get gold, and as a top female athlete. When Lacey Baker transitioned to Leo and kept competing in the women's league, I think that is an affront, and that should have been called out immediately by people saying, "Why is a man competing in the women's division?" But nobody batted an eye, and it's hypocrisy.
I think things that aren't consistent are, there is hypocrisy there. And if she's identifying as a man, she should be competing in the men's category, or else all of us are going to wonder what's going on, because none of this makes sense. So we need some consistency for sure. And so I agree with you. Did you want to talk about
we had to ask.
hoax?
Yeah, we had to ask Tim. I don't know if you know this, but Josh is involved in like an Instagram death hoax, but it was major news, right? Everybody
Yeah, it
covered
was
it.
worldwide.
It was like a big deal. What was that? I think I asked you about it, but I forget. What was that all about again?
It was someone hacked my account and posted that.
Like Shannon Sharp, you got hacked?
I saw that. Yeah, I didn't watch it. I don't want to see that, but I heard about it, and posted that I had died, and TMZ and 10,000 other places posted that I was dead. And
are you dead or are you alive?
No, I'm definitely here.
Okay, I didn't know. Maybe you're old, because I thought maybe you posted that because the old Josh died and now you're the new Josh.
A lot of people have been interpreting that
That's how
the
I
death
kinda
of the
interpreted
gendered Josh, and now I'm trans, and that's just a coincidence that happened. But I guess you could see it as my rebirth, kind of like the phoenix, and
you're rising out of the ashes.
Yeah, but I'm very happy.
Are you happy? That's a very important question. No, let's be real, because now you're on Tim's show. Obviously Tim is a big platform. You're getting millions of hits upon millions of hits, and I know what that feels like. It does feel good to go viral, but sometimes you go viral, then you're like, I need to go viral again. I need to go viral again. It kind of puts this weird pressure that I didn't expect once I started to gain, I guess, more popularity. But are you happy with your life at this moment?
Yeah, I feel very fulfilled. A lot of my life, I struggled with insecurity, whether it's financial insecurity, just normal things that we go through in our 20s, trying to find ourselves. Who are we? What's my identity outside of gender? Just who am I? What am I going to stand for? What's the mark I'm going to leave on this world? Things like that. And so when my dad passed about 3 years and a month ago, I kind of feel like that's when it really elucidated for me and crystallized who I am and what I want to stand for and who I want to be. And so I feel secure in who I am now. I have a fulfilling life. I have a cat, Oliver, which I love.
We love cats. I love cats. Tim likes cats.
I am a single lady. I just wanted to put that out. So you're
a single cat lady.
More attracted to women. So any single ladies out there, but yeah, I am. I'm happy. I really am happy. So.
I think this is a scandal that conservatives probably should bring up more often, highlighting the problems here. And so with limited respect to Leo Baker, this is time.com. Talking about Leo Baker, born female, one of the top female athletes, writing for a company of all female athletes. And it says that around at the age of 19, Baker realized he was trans. That would be 2010. Baker, knowing that they were trans and a man and identifying as a man, went on to compete in all of these top leagues, winning gold in 2016, 2017, bronze in 2018 at the World Championships, the Summer X Games 2014, Norway 2018, 2013, 2006. Well, we'll exclude 2006. But this is an individual who placed and medaled in numerous competitions, knowing and publicly stating now that they were a man competing in the women's division.
And I take umbrage at that, and I take offense at that as a trans woman. You are what you say you are. You choose your identity. As if you follow the science, it makes it very clear. And so she's a man. And so for her to compete in women's sports, in women's sports as a man, that's upsetting to me. I think that's bigoted and inconsiderate of him. And so an apology would be nice for that, because that's not fair to my trans community. I don't appreciate that.
The big deal, this is a story from 2021. And they mentioned that Baker quit the Tokyo Olympics to publicly come out as trans man, using he, him. I think later Leo then said, no, I'm non-binary, I'm not a man, but still goes by he, him, or they, them. The opening line is, oh, my boy, I just am. So this is the issue I see. Whenever it's a female identifying as a man, there's never a question of this person competing against other women. Right. So Leo Baker says, I'm a man, but I'm going to keep competing against women. OK, well, do we have a standard here? If the argument is that biological males can compete against females because it's a women's league, not a male league, then this must be true for Leo Baker. And Leo Baker should return the prize money, turn in the medals, and admit to cheating.
I think we should see where the science is on that. I think the science is always progressing and evolving, and it's very fluid. And so we should defer to the doctors. And if they say that technically, if she wants to compete in women's sports still, I think we really just need to, defer to the doctors on that. I fully trust the doctors. I really trust the science and what they say. I think it's very credible. And so I think we should defer to them on very nuanced issues like this.
Yeah, one of the issues I take, too, with the way Wikipedia handles these things is that it says, when you look up somebody, it often doesn't tell you that the person transitioned. So there'll be an individual who was born male and lived as a male for 35 years. Then they'll scrub all references to the individual as a male, and it'll say, she won this, she won that. And that's important because as it pertains to, say, a female who transitions to male, when it says things like he won the world championships, you're imagining in your mind this, like if you don't know anything about this person and you don't know they're trans because they don't include it in the article. This I'm not speaking of Leo Baker because it does say transgender, but there are pages where it will not explain to you that this athlete was born female won the female championships. When they scrub all references to gender and it says he won the world championships, you're assuming a guy who won.
It's almost Orwellian. You know, you think about the book 1984. It's almost an Orwellian world that we're living in, where there's doublespeak and things are the opposite of what they actually are. And sometimes I feel like we're living in George Orwell's 1984. But I did Google the actress that was in Juno that has now become a man. I am forgetting her name at this
Elliot
time.
Page.
Elliot Page, but very confusing going on there because Wikipedia, I mean, if you just read it, and they keep saying they, which is proper, but it at times can be confusing even to a law school educated person like me. But yeah, it can be confusing.
So I think this story is actually very sad. If you guys are familiar with it, as Ellen Page, now Elliot Page, I guess in Page's book, I'll just say Page says something to the effect of Page was suicidal, self-harming, and heard a voice telling them to gender transition or whatever. And it was something like that. It was a huge scandal, actually, when this came out, because it's like, here's a person who is suffering from years of abuse in Hollywood, who's having a psychotic break, and is trying to figure out how to remedy the solution. Instead of getting a doctor to help this person, get them away from the abusers, they just said, sterilize yourself.
Yeah, and Elliot Page, it's a whole can of worms too. Like, how old were they when Juno came out? I think they were like 19 or something.
Oh, I think younger than that.
Was it young? Was she younger than that?
Let me check. When was Juno?
So I don't know. Hollywood's so weird. Like Megan Fox has 3 trans kids. There's a lot of other.
And I take offense to that because the statistical probability of you having 3 trans kids is in the trillions. Jordan Peterson pointed that out.
Yeah.
So either she's lying or she's the luckiest woman on earth, depending on how you view it, to have 3 trans kids. But that definitely seems odd, just statistically.
She was in Trailer Park Boys.
Ellen was. I love.
Yeah, when she was real young, and so
that was her first.
She was
break.
when she was. I think her first. It says like when she was 13, she started in the industry. Oh no, younger than that.
See, I think that's part of it too, because it's almost impossible to be a child actor and not have a mental illness. Sadly, I mean it is. I think you get on set and people treat you different, and then
I think she talks about how she was sexually abused.
And that's a big one too. A lot of people that identify as gay were sexually abused in their youth.
The story that I heard, and I'm not saying it's true or anything. It's just this is a component of the press around it. Was that Ellen Page had been raped and abused in Hollywood as a child and teenager, and I think Page probably writes about this. And the story goes that Page decided to adopt a male persona as a defense mechanism against being raped by large, disgusting Hollywood men. It's this thing where it's like,
I believe that.
If only I was a guy, this would have never have happened to me. And so, when you see that story where Paige says that there's a voice in her head telling her to do things and she was self-harming, it's kind of like, wow, this individual needed serious help, but didn't get it.
I don't like with the medical community. Definitely, I think we need to make sure that we're helping people and not harming people. And I think the medical community could definitely do better with making sure that they don't confuse people that are already suffering from issues. And I feel like oftentimes the medical community just exacerbates it.
Well, didn't you say you struggled with mental health stuff?
Yeah, I always have. That's why this is an issue that's dear to my heart.
Have you ever...
real quick, sorry. I want to make sure this is clear because I am not saying psychotic break as an insult. I am not trying to disparage this person. Here's an excerpt from the LA Times. One night he tried to knock himself out, took his knuckles to his face and pounded over and over until bruises formed. 4 days after, he sat in a lawn chair on the porch, ashamed, his face sore, and then he heard a voice. You don't have to feel this way. It was a small voice, barely discernible, but it kept echoing in his head a way out. It was as if something in my brain turned on. The agonizing voice saying, no, you're not. No, you can't just switched and became, no, you can't just switched and became very gentle and loving. Oh, maybe I'm trans. Why don't I explore that? Within weeks, he'd schedule a Zoom consultation with a doctor to discuss top surgery. The procedure was scheduled for November. A month later, he announced to fans on Instagram, who have known him since the release of Juno 13 years prior, that his name was Elliot. I want to stress this. A psychotic episode where Ellen Page, at the time, by Ellen, beating herself in the face until her face was physically damaged, hearing a voice then saying, maybe you're trans, maybe you're trans, within weeks. We're not talking about a long period of psychological assistance and medical evaluation. Within weeks. Where is the point in the story where Paige's friends intervened and said, 5150. This person has been self-harming to an extreme degree, is having severe emotional distress and needs help. Instead, there was no assistance. There was no help. Paige called a doctor within weeks, and they were like, we will give you surgery on your chest.
Tim, you're not suggesting that people that are trans have mental health problems?
No, I'm suggesting that
I'm suggesting that, but
Elliot Page.
That's ridiculous.
But
come on, Josh.
No, hold on. There's a distinction. This is important here. Some people have mental health problems, and they'll claim to be trans. And you need to get to the root of what is the mental health reason behind a person's statements or actions. If there is someone who is suffering from gender dysphoria as defined by the DSM-5, that is very distinct from someone who's having a psychotic break and punching themselves in the face over and over again. So the problem I think we're seeing is with someone like Dylan Mulvaney, who I believe suffers, and I'm not a doctor, narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder, histrionics, all of those things. They then say, if Dylan Mulvaney says they're trans, there's no diagnosis be damned. There's a multitude of mental disorders and illnesses that can outwardly manifest as a person claiming they're the opposite gender. There is a distinction between gender dysphoria. A person looks in a mirror, they feel a sense of anxiety and dread over how they perceive their body. It's not even about gender in that regard. There's body dysmorphia, there's weight issues like anorexia, bulimia, etc. And then there are people who are outright psychotic. And that's not an insult. There are people who can't discern illusion from reality or imagination from reality. If both of these people come to you and say, I'm not actually a man, I'm a woman, and there's no effort to actually provide medical assistance, you are not going to help either of them. You're going to take someone like Elliot Page. Look, this is if you're 36 and you're beating yourself in the face over and over again, that is not gender dysphoria. Okay, and a doctor needs to come in and say this is self-harm, this is anxiety, panic, psychotic breaks, physical violence. This person needs help and loving care. Instead, Page, who is clearly not in the right state of mind to understand what's wrong with them. I want to stress this. If you saw a person in an alley beating themselves in the face, and then that person with no medical assistance called a gender surgeon, a gender surgery doctor, and said, please cut off my breast, and the doctor said, you got it, we'd be going, whoa, we need diagnoses here.
And I just want to commend you. This is one conservative point that I will agree with that you're espousing, that the conservatives make, which is that we should treat mental health problems. I feel like often the left just kind of indulges people's beliefs, whether they're right or not. And the right actually wants, sometimes, I don't like agreeing with them, but sometimes they actually like treating people's mental health problems and making sure that they're okay. So I do commend you, Tim, on that conservative point that we should actually address severe mental health problems. As a mental health advocate, I just wanted to...
And this is legit, right? So let's take a look at other body dysmorphic disorders. Anorexia.
There's bigorexia too, where the bodybuilders get so big their heart explodes.
Yep, they keep working out, they keep eating protein, or they take steroids because they feel like they're weak. They look in the mirror and they see scrawny, and their brains are not showing, they're not understanding reality. Anorexia, how does it manifest? Do people who are of average weight, who feel like they're fat, beat themselves to the point where they're bloody, and then no, they stop eating? So when we're looking at body dysmorphic disorders, it typically, at least when you look at the literature and the stories, I'm sure there are exceptions, it manifests in a way that alters the body in some fashion. The obvious, again, being anorexia, they stop eating. When you look at the story of Paige, I mean, the news reporting Daily Caller, Elliot Page says voice in her head told her she was trans if she tried to punch herself to death. Do anorexic people look in the mirror and see themselves as fat and just start beating themselves mercilessly? I'm sure there are some exceptions, but typically body dysmorphic disorders result in people trying to alter their body. Another example is general body dysmorphic disorder. There are people who want to remove their hands, for instance, and they'll go to doctors and say, my hand is not part of my body. It feels like there's a foreign object attached to my body. I need it removed. And they'll say, absolutely not. We will not cut your hand off. Some of these people have been known to stage accidents where they will flip a car or have a car, they'll put a car on like a jack and then pop the jack so it falls and crushes their arm So they force the doctors. Yep. There have been. So that is self-harm in a way that manifests the body change they desired. There's also individuals who self-harm related to their gender. There's a distinction here. I think when you look at a story of Elliot Page, you can see how this is not proper healthcare for individuals who are suffering. I think it's fair to say when you look at Dylan Mulvaney is a great example. Dylan Mulvaney, I believe, got plastic surgery for the same reason Madonna did, right? You want to be in the limelight, you want the attention, and you'll do whatever it takes to get it. So Madonna, of course, is a very old woman, still wants to look a certain way and be in the spotlight. So Madonna goes and gets this ridiculous surgery, and it makes her face look in a way that many people criticize. Dylan Mulvaney is doing the same thing. There is this knee-jerk reaction to assume if someone says they're gender dysphoric, diagnosis be damned, just do whatever they want, even though there's a plethora of either illnesses or disorders that could lead to someone saying that.
I think when people, you brought up anorexia or anorexic, we don't tell them, yes, you really are too fat and you should lose more weight. We treat the problem, right? And when people are schizophrenic and say the FBI is after me and that man's stalking me in the bushes, we don't go, yes, you are correct. We don't indulge their delusions. And so I take offense when the world and the medical community indulges people's delusions, and I don't like that. But I'm grateful that they respect my gender identity and my right to...
Josh, you're a great actor. I said at the beginning, you're winning this debate. You're doing well today. I thought
I just think the onus is on the medical community to treat mental illness and mental health problems. And if someone's anorexic or schizophrenic, they say, no, you're wrong, and we're going to help you and get you treatment.
And they lock you up because I know, they'll...
Yeah, but I'm very grateful that, they are there. The medical community allows me to just be me and to express myself at the same time. So I don't want to look like I'm overly criticizing them. But yeah.
Well, we got about 10 minutes, but where do you guys think we end up in 5-10 years?
Personally, I do think about this a lot, and whether we want to say Amin Khalifa, is hermaphrodite or whatever, I do think, Tim, this is what scares me, and we talk about the pendulum swinging back, there are going to be more children or parents of children that encourage their kids to transition to have an advantage in sports. I think we're going to see that boom in the next 5 or 10 years, because I would have never guessed that there would be somebody with XY chromosomes winning an Olympic gold medal. So I don't know if we ever get more conservative and there's, the trans movement slows down, but I do think the sports angle is only going to get just more prevalent.
As a trans woman, I don't like gender ideology or gender identities being pushed on kids. And so I think there will be pushback the more and more children are being drawn into this, usually by the very far left. Again, I'm a libertarian trans woman. But the more and more children are brought into it, the more and more pushback there's going to be. And so I really think that we need to just let kids be kids. And it doesn't help my movement that there's parts of it and extremist parts of it that are trying to involve children in it, and that is not okay, and I don't like that, and I think that's anathema to freedom and to what this country should stand for.
And I agree with you, and I just want to make this point. Have you seen this meme, Tim, where they have a public school and then they have a prison, and they show the cafeteria in the prison, they show the cafeteria in the public school, it looks the same, and it's a meme. So I guess my point is, I think we should protect kids, but I don't think kids are protected at all. I think they're the most vulnerable, and people take advantage of their vulnerability, and that's why this movement's only going to get worse.
Well, in public schools, the more and more extreme public schools are getting with the far left narrative, the more and more parents are going to be yanking them out. I was homeschooled my whole life, Tim. I don't know if you know that. My parents took my brothers out of public school when they were in third grade and homeschooled me from the time I was able to go to school. I never went to public school except for 1 year when I begged my parents as a typical high schooler, please, I want to go to experience public school and go to prom and homecoming. They let me go for 1 year. It was miserable. I was bullied.
It did suck the 1 year.
It was terrible because I didn't know the people. I hadn't been in school with them since childhood. I'd been in this conservative, homeschooled, group from cadre of individuals from a very small age.
Is that how your parents did it, in like group teaching kind of?
It was individual with just me and my brothers and my mother teaching us, but once a week we would meet at a place called La Casa. I'm not sure why it was called that. Obviously, it's Spanish for the house, where other homeschooled kids in the area would come. So I still keep in contact with a lot of the kids I was homeschooled with in La Casa, but it was just my mom teaching me and my brothers at
cool. I bet you're really close to the mom. You're obviously very smart. You went to law school. So
I went to law school, and my brothers both have post-bachelor degrees and undergrad degrees, so we all did well, even though our mother homeschooled us. And I think a lot of people are going to turn to alternative methods of education the more and more the public schools become this disaster that they are. And I, again, as a libertarian, I think that's good, because I don't want my kids being taught patently false things by public schools. And so that's just going to keep happening. There's going to keep being pushback.
You're one of the greatest comedians of our generation. You're like Andy Kaufman. We're going to look back at this.
Why do you keep calling me a comedian, though?
Because you're funny in your clips. That's why it gets millions of views. You're talking about the green salsa. And
I'm just trying to encourage,
mega. You say mega instead of MAGA. You're funny. Dude, you are very funny.
I just want to encourage debate and discussion on my page and get people to think and to, again, I think it's been lost in America because of the far left, just open discussion and understanding it's okay to disagree. And I just want to encourage people to have a conversation again. And so I'm glad I came here so we could have a conversation, even if, Alex, we don't agree on it.
But I am your friend, and I would, if I can ever do anything to help you, Josh, don't ever hesitate to reach out.
And
because
I think you're a nice guy.
And I do think it's important what you're doing, because it shows the hypocrisy and it kind of shows the double. I know.
No, hold on. You see, you took it the wrong way. What you're doing does show the hypocrisy, whether it's genuine or otherwise. If you are in earnest presenting these ideas,
a hypocrisy of the far left, okay,
right? Attacking you and criticizing you when you've abided by everything they say is the right way to do it, it shows that they never actually cared. When they say you don't have to look a certain way, anybody can be a woman, you say, thank you, I agree, I'm a woman, and then they yell at you. Or I think the Trans for Palestine thing's a really good example.
That's a great example.
I don't see you doing anything that's violative of their worldview, but they got mad about it anyway. They're hypocrites.
It's culture jamming. It is culture jamming.
That's why I'm not, a liberal, and I'm a libertarian and always will be, but I'm also a trans woman. But I don't want that to be my only identity, and I don't want that to define me. I am just, an individual going through life, and I'm more than just my gender. And so I hope people remember me for more than that. Remember me for other things that I did. So,
yeah,
you'll definitely be remembered.
Yeah,
but I think you are going to be remembered for this. I mean, I don't know how you're going to shake that you're the Bachelor person.
It's real simple. And 6-7 months, Josh comes out and just says, I thought about it, and I kind of feel more like a man now. So thank you, everybody. And,
you could do that right now.
For me to present more masc than femme, and the medical community and the science has made that clear. So I posted a couple pics to my story over the last couple of weeks of just me expressing myself in my individuality, which I thought we were all about. And so I presented a little more masculine on my story, and people lost it. And I don't understand it because I can present, like today I'm a little more androgynous, obvious, because it's a professional. I wanted to be more professional coming on the show.
Yeah, wearing a pantsuit.
And I posted it to Instagram and said, I'm going on the Timcast podcast. And people were like, you can't wear that. And I saw one of them they were voting for Biden-Harris. And I'm thinking, why can't I? I thought we weren't supposed to police people's sartorial attire. So a little discouraging, but yeah, I can present however I want. And it just sucks that not everyone's accepting. So
I accept you. I do.
Thanks, Alex.
So any final thoughts on, I guess that may have been it.
What do you want to say? Yeah, I guess is that your final thoughts? Because a lot of people are going to see this, and I'm sure these clips are going to go viral. You know what it's like to go viral. Like, what is, I guess, your message, or what do you?
Yeah, well, I just want to say first and foremost, Tim, thanks for having me on the show. I just hope that I get people to think a little bit more and have a discussion with your neighbor. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you need to hate them. It doesn't mean they're terrible. It's okay to disagree with people. I disagree with Alex, but I would consider him a friend at this point. And I may disagree with Tim on some things, but my final thoughts are just be kind to each other.
Thank you for having me. I think it's a bit, but you're a genius, and you need to keep it up. You need to just keep it up as long as you can, because it's pissing off all the right people, and it's giving entertainment to a lot of people as well. So, bravo.
My recommendation would be to get more cinematic as time goes on. You know,
I mean, you got to compete in sports. I think that has to be the next thing. I think that would break the internet. You know, that's cliche. That would make major news if you went and won a cycling contest.
Have you ever watched How To Basic?
No.
Is that a YouTube channel?
It's an old school YouTube channel.
Yeah. I've seen
and so it was this big YouTube channel. It started out with how to change the toilet paper.
It was the dad or whatever.
I don't know. It was a guy filming.
He shows you how to do a tie.
No. It's a first person POV, and it would be like how to change toilet paper roll, and then the hand comes in, and then lifts it up and pulls the old roll off. Then puts a new one on, puts it down, and then it's over. That was the video. The next video was, how to start a lawnmower. But slowly over time, the videos were getting more and more strange until after about a year, it was like how to close a refrigerator, and it's the camera shaking, eggs flying everywhere. There's a guy spraying ketchup, and he's going, and it just, every video got slightly crazier until the whole channel was just like horror nonsense site. Let me see if I can pull something up.
Actually, you know who the best? Well, I don't know if this is considered performance art, but Tim, do you know Nick Avocado?
17 million views.
Nicky Avocado lost all the weight.
I know Nick Avocado lost all that weight. Look at you taking off the earrings.
Look at this. Look at this. How to pick up an umbrella. That was it. That's the whole video. And then, right. And so then as you see, here we go to oldest. So it's how to save power and turns the light off, how to close a door, how to viciously put a lid on plastic. It slowly starts getting weirder and weirder, how to click a big pen. And then if we just go forward, I don't know, let's just jump way, way forward. Here we go. How to make breakfast. It's just becoming increasingly more unhinged.
That's annoying. I would never watch that.
So it's like right now that wasn't that crazy, right? It's like, okay, it's kind of weird, but you just keep going further and further. I don't know what he's doing lately. Yeah, this is not as crazy. There's I don't know where the ones where he's throwing eggs and smashing everything. Oh, these are new ones. Where's the oldest? What's the most popular one? How to get a six-pack. It's just eating crazy food. Yeah, I don't know. That's
Tim, I'm just gonna keep being me, so I'm not gonna make my page crazy. I just want people to think and have discussions and a conversation. So,
and you should be posting on YouTube. And are you on YouTube yet?
I'm not on YouTube
because so many people talk about you.
You got a million followers.
Yeah,
you need to be on YouTube.
Big Instagram. All right, man. Well, everybody, thanks for hanging out. It was fun. It was great to have you, Josh. Alex, of course.
Always a pleasure.
Always fun to hang out. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show if you like it. What do we have next week? Am I allowed to say what's going on next week? I don't know if I am. Oh, I think next week we're doing a Section 230 debate, which is big because there's a lawsuit that could end Section 230. This is huge.
Is that
Jason Fick, I think his name is?
January 6th? What's the Section 230?
Section 230 is where you can't sue Facebook because of...
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lawsuit that's actually made it through, which is going to be huge, and so we'll probably talk about this one. But we'll wrap it up there, my friends. Thank you all so much for hanging out and watching the show, and we will see you all tonight at 8 p.m.